Hello everyone, this is Grace. It is October the 24th, 2022, and we are continuing our study on the Passover. We're currently looking at the Feast of Trumpets. And I have a correction that I need to make on the Feast of Trumpets before we continue. In Numbers 10, I was not aware that this word that was used in the Feast of Trumpets was used here. Let's go back. And the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, speaking to the children of Israel, saying, in the 7th month, in the 1st day of the month, shall ye have a Sabbath, a memorial of blowing of the trumpets, the H 86:43, and holy convocation. Ye shall do no servile work therein, but ye shall offer an offering made by fire unto the Lord. When I looked in Numbers, it was so far out of context, I didn't even realize it was there. But seeing that it's here with this word for blow or for trumpets, it's a problem. See, because I originally, when I looked at the word and I saw that it was used for both joyous occasions and for the battle cry, I accepted that because the words were so spread out. But these words being used so close together, it is impossible that they cannot be used, they cannot be synonymous. Okay? They have to have a clear and distinct meaning. So I had to go back and reinvestigate. So let's look at the definition for this word again. And this time we're going to use the dictionary because we want to make sure we got it right. Clamor. That is, so we don't need to look up clamor because they're about to explain it. And acclamation. So let's look this up. In acclamation. Acclamation is a noisy and enthusiastic expression of approval for someone or something. The news was greeted with considerable popular acclamation. That is, acclamation of joy or a battle cry, especially clangor of trumpets. Let's look up clangor. Clangor. A resounding clang or medley of clangs, the clangor of hammer. A loud resonant sound, clang, clamorous noise to make a clangor clang. Okay, that's enough of that. You're talking about the instruments there. The clangor of trumpets as an alarm. This is just an alarm. But let's look it up anyway so that we can see together. A warning or an alarm, especially a call to arms. This instrument called television can teach and illuminate, cautioned Edward R. Murrow, but only to the extent that its operators choose to use it. An era later, Murrow's alarm remains as up to date as tonight's news. It's an alarm. Alarm, blow, blowing of the trumpets, joy, jubilee, loud noise, rejoice, shouting, high joyful sound. This is the way that it's worded, you kind of can draw the conclusion that it can be used as an acclamation of joy. It cannot. Well, it can, but only under the situation of battle. This is a word that's used in situations of battle. If you are in a war and you're winning, then you can use it as an acclamation of joy. If you're about to go into war, then you can use it as a battle cry. But it's used as an acclamation as an acclamation of alarm during battle. That's why it's an alarm. That's what the alarm part is. That's why the alarm part is there, because it's for the battle. Because it's for battle. It's supposed to be a shock to. For instance, let me put it this way: if you're in a church and you're praising, then you're not surprised that people are singing and rejoicing and praising and sending up prayers to God. It's not an alarm to you. There's no warning there. There's no danger. There's nothing that should alarm you about that. If you're in a joyous situation, you're never going to use this word because it's not a warning or an alarm. That's the word they should have put in there, a warning or something like that. But it's not. I don't think a warning is alarm is really a good word. It's just that we have to understand the context that it's being used in. They changed the words. I didn't spot it when I first did it because the words were so spread out. And I really had I like to believe the Bible. I really do like to believe it. And unfortunately, I erred in judgment in this particular case. So we're going to look at this word again. Let's just pull it up and let's look at some of the instances where they actually changed the word from the original word to something else in order to deceive you, specifically to deceive you. Oh, here, this one is charming. Let's look at this. Then shalt thou cause the trumpet of the Jubilee to sound on the 10th day of the 7th month. In the day of atonement shall you make the trumpet sound throughout all your land. This is not an alarm of war. The day of Jubilee is a day of rejoicing. But lucky for us, people like me are simply very trusting when it comes to the Bible. And so they didn't need to change all of the words for Jubilee. They only needed to change this one to put the curse in there, you see. Because this is what they're doing. They're slick. Then shalt thou cause the trumpet of the battle cry to sound on the 10th day of the 7th month in the day of atonement. Shall you make the trumpet sound throughout all your land. They put their little curse in there, you see. It's the same thing that they did to the Feast of Trumpets. But let's look at the other verses for Jubilee. Jubilee, here is a shout. H8643. Jubilee, here is the actual word for Jubilee. Shall be a Jubilee unto you. A Jubilee shall be the 50th year. Jubilee. Jubilee, 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 Jubilee. Jubilee. Jubilee, Jubilee, Jubilee. They didn't change any of them. They had no reason to. There was no need to put a cry of war in here because the context didn't demand it. So they left all of these correct. And here they just decided, oh, well, let's just change this to the trumpet, a battle cry against God. Then shall thou cause the trumpet of the battle cry to sound on the 10th day of the 7th month. In the day of atonement. No, this is still the word Jubilee. They just changed it. So let's look at some of the other things that they did. I noticed this before. I noticed that they were changing the numbers before, that they didn't match up with the context of the sentence. When you blow an alarm in the camps that lie on the east parts, shall you go forward. Okay, this is Numbers 10. Let's go ahead and look at this because this is where I made a mistake here in the previous video. When you blow, we looked at this word. This word is the joyous word that you use for blow. To clatter, that is, slap the hands together, clang. See, they're clapping and rejoicing. To drive a nail or pin, an implication to become bondsman. This word is probably not the best word to use for rejoicing. It doesn't have a root word. So, I mean, it may be the root word, though. Who knows? Let's look up clatter. I don't know what that is going to mean here. I don't know what it means, so let's look it up. If you say that people or things clatter somewhere, you mean that they move there noisily. He turned and clattered down the stairs. Yes, they're clapping and rejoicing. Okay, yeah, that's the happy word there. But here they use it because in Numbers 10, they have let's read it together and then I'll explain it. And the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, Make thee 2 trumpets of silver, for a whole piece shalt thou make them, that thou mayest use them for the calling of the assembly and for the journeying of the camps. And when thou shalt blow with them, all the assembly shall assemble themselves to thee at the door of the tabernacle of the congregation. So this is for the assembling of the church, to bring them to the assembly. And this is the same trumpet that the Lord is going to call the saints to him with in the last days. Okay? And if they blow but one trumpet, then the princes which are heads of thousands of Israel shall gather themselves unto thee. When ye blow an alarm, this is the journeying of the camps part, I guess. When you blow an alarm or a battle cry of war, then the camps that lie on the east shall go forward. So they're using the good with the bad to tell the people that we are under attack. You see, this by itself is for war. This by itself is for good. They combine the two to tell the people that they are coming under attack, and they're moving them in the right directions in order to protect them. So let's move on. Let's look at some of the other examples before I have some other things that I want to look at. He has not beheld iniquity in Jacob, neither has he seen perverseness in Israel. The Lord his God is with him, and the shout of a king is among them. Okay, we'll leave that. That could be battle cry, and I don't want to check. I don't remember if I did. And in the 7th month, on the 1st day of the month, okay, that's the Feast of Trumpets. And Moses sent them to the war. We know this is a situation of war, so that could be correct. I don't remember what I found here. Okay, that's a battle cry, so that's fine. And the people shouted, this is still Jericho. And when the ark of the covenant of the Lord came into the camp, all Israel shouted with a great shout, so that the earth... Oh, this was funny. You guys may be mad at me because I just laughed and laughed at this. This was so funny to me. It's really horrible. I just don't know why I thought... Well, I didn't laugh that much, but I did think it was funny. Okay, so they're at war with the Philistines, right? And they're losing. So the people sent to Shiloh, that they might bring from thence the ark of the covenant of the Lord of hosts, which dwelleth between the cherubims. And the 2 sons of Eli, Hophni and Phinehas, were there with the ark of the covenant of God. And when the ark of the covenant of the Lord came into the camp, all Israel shouted with a great shout, a battle cry, so that the earth rang again. Look, this didn't happen like no. All right. And when the Philistines, do you know how loud they have to shout? Do you know how loud they would have to shout? Maybe the Philistines were camped out about. Maybe it did happen. They were probably camped out about warring them, and they heard it. And when the Philistines heard the noise of the shout, they said, what meaneth the noise of this great shout in the camp? And this great shout, battle cry in the camp of the Hebrews. And they understood that the ark of the Lord was coming to the camp. And the Philistines were afraid, for they said, God is coming to the camp. And they said, woe unto us, for there has not been such a thing before, heretofore. Woe unto us, who shall deliver us out of the hand of these mighty gods. These are the gods that smote the Egyptians with all the plagues in the wilderness. Be strong and quit yourselves like men, O ye Philistines, that ye be not servants unto the Hebrews, as they have been to you. Quit yourselves like men and fight. And the Philistines fought, and Israel was smitten. Oh, man, I tell you, that's just wrong. And they fled every man to his tent, and there was a very great slaughter, for there fell of Israel 30,000 footmen. So that's sad, but at the same time, they put... And the ark of God was taken, and the two sons of Eli, they even took the ark. It's just wrong. I don't know if it's true or not, to be honest with you. I just thought it was just horrid. Here they are, they're singing all these praises to the great God, and they're believing in God more than the Israelites do. And then they just go and smite them and take the ark for themselves. I didn't look at it enough to see. I know it's ridiculous that they were shouting they could hear them in another town, but it may have been that they were camped out. I don't know. It's a battle cry. And since they were at war, I don't think that they were shouting it as a battle cry. I think it was wrong. I think that they changed it from a joyous occasion to a battle cry. That's what I believe. The context demands that. What else do we have here? Here we go. This was definitely changed, without a shadow of a doubt. And David danced before the Lord with all his might, and David was girded with a linen ephod. So David and all the house of Israel brought up the ark of the Lord with shouting, a battle cry against God, and the sound of the trumpet. No, praising with shouts of praise. It was not a shout of war, and that's what that word is used for. It's always used for that. If you see it in a situation where it's not used for that, then they put it there. They changed it intentionally to curse you. We'll look at a couple of more. I don't want to look at all of them though. This one, I think this one was changed for sure. Oh, there was one in Psalms that I looked at, which we'll jump down to that after we look at this. So David and all the house of Israel brought up the ark of the Lord with shouting and with sounds. Here we go. So they're singing and dancing here. And David was clothed with a robe of fine linen, and all the Levites that bear the ark, and the singers, and the Shaniah, the masters of the song with the singers. David also had upon him an ephod of linen. So they had the people there rejoicing. They had the singers there. They had the choir. Everybody was happy. And then you get to this. Thus all Israel brought up the ark of the covenant of the Lord with shouting, a battle cry, and with the sound of the cornet, and with trumpets, and with cymbals, making a noise with psalteries and harps. No, they were praising God. These people, in their wickedness, they're just so wicked. This is just wickedness. They're using this to try and curse you. And there's more in here, but I want to jump down to Psalms because I thought that one was interesting. I think was it the first one in Psalms? I didn't go down through all of these. Okay, so let's look at this. And now shall mine head be lifted above mine enemies round about me. Therefore will I offer in his tabernacle sacrifices of a battle cry. I will sing, yea, I will sing praises unto the Lord. It was probably prayer or something like that. Sacrifices of prayer, sacrifices of praise. It's praise because that's the context. Sorry. Sacrifices of praise. I will sing, yea, I will sing praises unto the Lord. It was praises. The same as the other verses with David. It's just, anyway, let's go back to Leviticus and look at the original verse. And then there's a couple of verses that I want to look at, which talk about the 7th month. And the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, speaking to the children of Israel, saying, in the 7th month, in the first day of the month, ye shall have a Sabbath, a memorial blowing of the trumpets, and holy convocation. This is their curse for you. A memorial shout of war against God. That's their curse for you. So let's look at Nehemiah. We'll start from the first verse. And all the people gathered themselves together as one man into the street that was before the water gate. And they spake unto Ezra the scribe to bring the book of the law to Moses, which the Lord had commanded to Israel. And Ezra the priest brought the law before the congregation, both men and women, and all that could hear him understood upon the first day of the 7th month. So it's the day of trumpets. And Ezra the priest brought the law before the congregation, both of men and women, and all that could hear with understanding upon the first day of the 7th month. That's interesting, both men and women. Okay, but anyway, it is the day of trumpets, okay? And he read therein before the street that was before the water gate from morning until midday, before the men and women, and those that could understand, and the ears of all the people were attentive unto the book of the law. And Ezra the scribe stood upon a pulpit of wood which they had made for the purpose. And we're not going to read all of that. He opened up the book in the sight of all the people, and he read the book in the law of God distinctly and gave the sense. See, this has been tampered with. So I'll read it, but you can tell it's been tampered with. Something has been taken out and changed something. Okay. It says they because a lot of people are listed up here. So they read in the book, in the law of God. So they read in the book, in the law of God distinctly, and gave the sense and caused them to understand the reading. All right. We can understand that verse. We know it's been tampered with, but we can understand it. He read in the book and they understood what was being said and they understood the law. So let's read on. And Nehemiah, which is the Tershatha, it's like a governor or a leader, title of a Persian deputy or governor. And Ezra the priest, the scribe, and the Levites that taught the people said unto all the people, this day is holy unto the Lord your God. Mourn not, nor weep, for all the people wept when they heard the words of the law. Then he said unto them, go your way, eat the fat, and drink the sweet, and send portions unto them for whom nothing is prepared. For this day is holy unto our Lord. Neither be ye sorry, for the joy of the Lord is your strength. So the Levites stilled all the people, saying, hold your peace, for the day is holy, neither be ye grieved. And all the people went their way to eat and to drink and to send portions, eat to drink and be merry is really what it should say. And all the people went their way to eat and to drink and to send portions and to make great mirth, because they had understood the words that were declared unto them. Obviously, they did not understand the words, because they read until midday. That means it was no longer the first day of the month, but it was the second day of the month. And there is no holiday dictated in the law that requires them to celebrate on the second day of the seventh month. This is false. Let's go on. Ezra. I don't know if I want to read this anymore. Hold on. Let me get a stopping point. I think this was read for something else. We're going to do it. All right, let's read this. So this is, they rebuilt the altar in the time of Ezra here. And they kept also the Feast of Tabernacles. We need some context. We'll read all of it. And when the seventh month was come, and the children of Israel were in the cities, the people gathered themselves together as one man to Jerusalem. Then stood up Jeshua the son of Jozadak, and his brethren the priests, and Zerubbabel the son of Shealtiel and his brethren, and builded the altar of the God of Israel to offer burnt offerings thereon, as it is written in the law of Moses the man of God. And they set the altar upon his base, for fear was upon them because of the people of those countries, and they offered those countries because of the people of those countries, and they offered burnt offerings thereon unto the Lord, even burnt offerings morning and evening. They kept also the Feast of Tabernacles, as it is written, and offered the daily burnt offerings by number, according to the custom, as the duty of every day required. And afterwards offered the continual burnt offering, both of the new moons and all the set feasts of the Lord that were consecrated, and of every one that willingly offered a freewill offering unto the Lord, from the first day of the seventh month. That's the Feast of Trumpets. Begin they to offer burnt offerings unto the Lord, but the foundation of the temple of the Lord was not yet laid. So let's jump down to the end, where they laid the foundation, and they were celebrating. And they sang together by course in praises, giving thanks unto the Lord, because he is good, for his mercy endureth forever toward Israel. And all the people shouted with a great shout when they praised. No, this is not a praise, people, everyone. This is a battle cry. Or it's a shout of victory over a war. It's not a good thing. Shouted with a great shout when they praised the Lord. Because the foundation of the house of the Lord was laid. But many of the priests and Levites and chief of the fathers, who were ancient men, that had seen the first house when the foundation of the house was laid, before their eyes wept with a loud voice, and many shouted aloud for joy. Okay, so you can tell that this is not right, because they're weeping with a loud voice and many are shouting aloud for joy. The context is not correct. So that the people could not discern the noise of the shout of joy from the noise of the weeping of the people, for the people shouted with a loud shout, and the noise was heard afar off. Okay, listen. This is a great shout. We looked at this word. We looked up this word. This word means shout. This is just shouting. This is a great shout. This is an uproar and a clangor that is very loud, because it's supposed to alarm the people. All right? And it's not good. It's not done with praise. There's a different word. It's called praise. But I didn't look up the word or anything. Actually, I did, but I didn't make a note of it. But it's praise. This is a good word for praise here. That word was probably here. to shine. My point of doing this, it wasn't to go into that. My point of doing this is because it doesn't make sense. If you think that people are out there shouting, making all this great noise, and they just laid the foundation, and then the other people are out there, what are they booing? How in the world is it that the people could not discern the noise of the shout of joy from the noise of the weeping of the people? For the people shouted with a loud shout. No, that doesn't make sense, and it didn't happen like that. The fact of the matter is that there was no great shout. They were happy. They were praising. They were singing. And these people here, they were weeping, and they didn't understand it. And they didn't understand what was going on, and so it stood out. It wasn't that it was heard over a huge rejoicing. It stood out amongst the praise. It was heard amongst the praise, because the praise was not like this. It was not like this. It was just a happy time of rejoicing, where they were praising God like a normal service, a normal church service of praising. And if you hear somebody weeping, it stands out. It's a different noise. You see, it's a different noise. It wouldn't be any different than this. This is loud shouting and grunts. You could never hear weeping over such a thing. You couldn't. Both are sounds of the voice. Both are sounds. The sounds would be similar as to a person that's weeping. The sounds of rejoicing, the high notes that you hear, the reverberations that are in the air. You could never hear weeping over this. You can hear even the smallest amount of weeping over praising. That's why they heard it. They were not out there booing because the temple was laid. They were not out there doing that. That's not true. That's not what happened. It was simple moans contrasting to this high-pitched praise that was going on over the people, in the clapping that was heard over the people that was presented because of the joyous occasion. I don't know how to explain it any better than that. I don't know how to explain it. That's why I didn't want to do it at first, because I wasn't really sure if I could get the point across. This could not have happened if this happened. They could not have shouted with the tones and with the voice of a battle cry if they heard them weeping. I don't care how loud they were weeping. Unless they were all standing on their toes shouting boo through their microphone hands, how are you going to hear that over this? It's not possible. It's not possible. They weep to themselves. That's how they heard it, because they were singing the high-pitched tones, the cymbals, and that low weep that they had. Oh, it's a different tone, and they were able to discern it and recognize it over the rejoicing, not this. Okay. I'm going to stop there. It is a curse. If I think of something else that I want to show you, I'll just add on another video. But this is not real. It's not real. What's real is the memorial, not that you have for a war against God, okay? You can't win that war. You can't win it. But for Christ, who gave his life to save you. That's what the memorial is for. There's no memorial on the 7th month when you're only in the 5th month. That doesn't make sense. It just doesn't make sense. The whole thing is illogical. Add to it the fact that they have put this horrible word in here saying that you're supposed to memorialize war. It not only doesn't make sense, it's insulting. Yeah, I mean, it's supposed to be insulting, so, and no biggie there. That's why they put it in there. All right, so that's all I have to say. I'll talk to you in the next video.